Hi guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. It means more to me than you'll ever understand. So let's get to it. This is Joey. One of my loyal clients has been in Dubai, and now Joey's actually my model today. But I was going to do a skin fade, and then he dropped the bomb on me saying he wants a taper, which is fine. It's completely fine. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a backwards moving haircut, literally as it is, pretty much. But how I'm going to do the taper today, because he's growing it out into something new for himself as well. So for me to determine the length here, I'm going to do my taper first when it comes to the sides. Obviously, I'm going to cut the top like normal first, and then I'm going to put my taper line in first and then graduate up so I can determine the length I need here, because I might leave all of this hair here as it is, depending on how the taper looks. So this is what I mean by you've got to adapt to every new client that comes to the chair or every new style that your client wants. So let's no further ado, let's get into it. Right, so as Joey has a backwards moving haircut on top, we are going to start by putting our first section in from the recession straight back to his growth pattern. I'll show you why in a minute. Making sure the line is nice and clean. Right the way down. Just like that. So I will cut this side, and then I will do exactly the same section on the other side. So I won't use no clips or anything on the top. I'll just do exactly as I'm moving forward. I'll do it as and when. So now with this part, I'm not going to cut straight across to put a foundation in. I'm going to do it nice and so I'm going to come from here, just in a bit. Take my first section, just like that. But remembering that these are going to be tight to the head here. Your tips of your fingers on this side and your knuckles on the other side are going to be tight to the head. Why? Because that means your number 3 can go straight up and through. I know he's having a taper, but I know that this then is not going to be any lower than a 3. So I can keep most of the length all the way through. And this helps you with your blend moving forward. Just like that. And my fingers here now are coming off. So imagine the comb is on his head like this. That's the angle of my fingers. So as I get to the top, my fingers are pulling away from the head to maintain the length through here. Next section is going to be about a finger's depth back. You don't want to be creating those lines. Same again, fingers are tight to the head there. All the way up. Same again, we're not over directing it either, we are pulling a 1-to-1. So what 1-to-1 means is literally your section is coming straight up, using the cut from behind as a guide. Making sure you're not pushing this hair back when you're sectioning either, because it wants to come forward. So that means if you push it back, the root is going to pull it this way. Maintain the shape of your fingers all the way through. As you get further to the back, it's going to be a longer cut. So you have to cut the bottom and then come back up to cut the top. As you can see now, I'm going to have to do 2 cuts here. 3 cutting line, and I'll section up again. Pulling this out again, you got your guide underneath as well then, just there. Again, cut at the bottom, up to the top. As you get to the back, you're going to put a bit more of an angle towards the top. Maintain a bit more length towards the back. As you can see with each section, I'm coming straight out. I'm not pulling back. I'm not over directing it back to the front or backwards. Literally pulling it straight out. Now, as you can see, I'm pulling a lot further up towards the top. Now, as his head is starting to curve here, I'll be pulling, so if I pull this way, it'll be an over direction, and you'll be pulling with the head shape. Directly from the bottom. Again, I'm pulling out. Maintaining that angle all the way up. As you can see, that's what I meant by a soft blend, naturally. I'm going to create a harsh line. I know that because my fingers are tight all the way through here, that is exactly where the 3 needs to go. You go all the way to the end of this section here, because that's where your natural growth pattern is. All the way down. Angling out this time, so you're going to be creating more of a lip towards the back, because if you take it too tight, the hair is just going to spring up. So you need more weight at the back. So that's why you're going to keep your fingers a lot more of almost a 90, not, well, I'd say about 60, maybe 45. See, angle of my fingers. There you go. That's that side done. I'm moving on to theory. Right, so as you've seen just now, I started from the recession all the way back to the dominant growth pattern at the back. Okay, so how I was cutting it, the shape, the technical shape. So this is where you got to think of shape over length and why you remember what you're leaving and not what you're actually cutting. Because here, the distance to travel from here to there was a lot shorter than what it is to travel from there to there. The reason being is when it's brushed back, that is going to sit, because it needs to maintain more length and weight towards the back so the hair doesn't stick up on its edge like that. So that's why, so realistically, the haircut is like that. It's almost like a perfect U. But if I was doing a perfect U, it would be the same length here as it was right way around. So you're maintaining the length towards the back. And obviously with diagonal cuts, with my fingers tight to the head, at the bottom here, so my fingers are tight here, and then angling off here. So if you thought about it as in vertical lines, it's pretty much straight. But as it gets to the back, I'm pulling more out this way to a degree. So I'm moving on to the actual cutting length. So if I was to pull the length up in Joey's hair now, it would be up, 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 up. If his head was flat, that is how the shape and the length of his hair would actually look. Obviously, his head's not not flat, so it's going to sit lovely and soft and create a lovely soft blend as you've just seen. It's that simple. The diagonal, obviously you're remembering why you're keeping the length at the back. And then when it comes to, where is it, here, the length of the angle of your fingers at the start. So here, your fingers are more vertical. And as you get to the back, it's angling out more towards a 45 degree. If it's 90, you'll be there. If it's 45, it's going to be there. So you've got to remember all of this as each time you cut in, each section you take, that's what you've got to remember. This theory is basic stuff. But obviously, if you don't understand it, like I know a lot of people in barbershops who are cut in already and it's been thrown on a chair and has never ever done theory. So this is why I'm doing it live whilst I'm cutting my model, just so you get an understanding of exactly what you're doing as and when. So I'm not going to show you this and then go on and cut Joey's hair in 3 weeks. I'm going to show you this as I'm cutting each model. So each and every single model is going to have a different theory with it. So, yes. Now, without further ado, let's crack on. So, as I mentioned on the other side, my knuckles, so on the other side, it was my fingers that were tight to the skull, but now it's my knuckles. But the only issue with this is, obviously, this part of my hand is thicker than the tip of my fingers, so naturally, this is going to be a touch longer, but it's only going to be like a mil, maybe 2 mil. But you've got to remember that when you're refining this side. So you've got to refine this side a little bit more, always. Well, with me anyway. I don't know about how you guys might have sussed it already, but yeah. So I'm just going to speed this up, because obviously you've seen me do exactly this on the other side. It's exactly the same process as my hands are in a different position. But so now this bit I will show you. So this is the part where you cross graduate. So obviously this part has already been cut, but obviously I'm going to cross examine by just pulling this side through into the back, into the bit you've already cut, just to make sure that it is perfecto. Can you have a coffee? Yeah. Yeah. It's actually much better with the lighting. It's almost too bright. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, guys. My content creator and good friend from back home has just joined us. And then you're going to cross graduate the other side. So obviously there, connect them through. And pull it down, cross grad. Anything like it looks like a semicircle or any overhang, just take it off. And then, hopefully, they sit very, very similar. I haven't checked the shape, so I'm hoping. Yeah. Perfecto. That's good. Diamante. Right, so just to go back through the theory a little bit, obviously we've done all of this, but connecting the back, so connecting the right side to the left side, obviously we got the lines here, it comes to about here, and then vice versa, the other side. So literally, because we've already cut this part when you've done the left side, so whichever side you do first, this side or that side is going to be cut, right? So then as you're coming through, you do the same line this way all the way down, and then you cross-check this part. So whatever's underneath this triangle is being cross-checked. And then you do it again, and you do it again. So you do it this, until there's no more here to do. And then you cross-grad and cross-check it again. So you come this way, just to make sure, as I showed you, that there is no little semicircles or triangles. Short bit, long bit. Make sure that you've got none of them, and you take them off. Okay? Right, so what Joey's main concern is about the length of his hair and the weight of it here is it bubbles here. So Joey likes the way, he doesn't like it like a big pump. He likes it quite low and quite tight. So his main issue is the weight through here is a bubble. So I'm going to show you how to tackle something like this, just using club cutting. So starting with our center profile, just to the right of his nose, right the way back, and then the same again. So about width of your comb, roughly, doesn't have to be exact. So we're going to start with the fringe, pulling up, tight from the root. And what again, going back to the theory, what we're going to do is remember the shape of the head. So we're thinking about what we're leaving, not what we're taking off. So we're going to go pretty square and drop it down to the back, because the length of the hair is naturally going to be shorter here because of the distance of the skull drops here and the skull here. Nice and square. Going to take off roughly about 2 centimeters. Drop half. And we're nice and square. There's a distance through here. If the hair's got to travel, it's going to be less here than what it is here. Same again. See how bouncy Joey's hair is? And now I'm going to start angling my fingers. Back. And again, drop half, pick up half. There we go. Angle again, you can see the angle of my fingers. We're literally going to keep on going straight at that angle, because remember, we're going to want to keep some length here. So if I went around, it's going to be too short here, and the weight, Joey's hair will just bounce. You can see how bouncy it is, it'll just bounce out. And keep the angle minimal off, and bang. So now we've done that, this is the theory right there. I'll move Joey out of the way a little bit. We're going straight onto the theory. Obviously, center profile, straight back, and the length here. Okay, so you've got to determine the length. Obviously, look, it's going to be, if I was to cut it, like I cut it square, that's roughly square. I'm not an artist. So I've cut it all the same length as in terms of off the top. Okay, so it's nice and square, but look at the distance and the traveling of the length of the hair. So what I'm doing, why I wanted to show you this was because I'm removing that bump automatically because it's naturally shorter. Whereas if I was to go a bit longer and actually kept it to the head shape, there'd be too much weight here and it would bulge again. Because there'd be too much length and too much weight. So obviously, and again then, all right, let's cross that off. So because I've kept it square, or level, again, it's longer, it's going to get longer towards the back, which is exactly what we want, because you've seen how bouncy Joey's hair is. So the distance from here to here is obviously longer than what it is here to here. So that's why I've naturally then started angling my fingers down, because if I was to keep it square, it's going to be way too long. It's going to create an overhang at the bottom. So then I got a lot of excess weight here. But if you're angling it slightly, the distance is going to be, it's going to be like a perfect blend like the other sides are. Okay? So remember, it's what you're taking off, not what it's what you leave. Sorry, it's what you take. Is what you're leaving, not what you're taking off. You've got to remember that shape there. Okay, everyone's head shapes are different, so you've got to use your mapping and everything as well to go with it. And then that is just a guide there. So this is your section, and then I'm going to match this sides. The next part now, I'm going to go from here. So I'm going to cut square across, straight across. I'm going to have a guide here, and I'm going to have a guide here. You can turn that off if you want. Sorry, Saz is crying because the AC is on, and where the phone is on the camera, that's exactly where the AC is blowing. So now we're going to take the section straight down the middle of what we've already just cut. We're going to take a center guideline, center profile. Split it straight in half. So I've already cut this much, right? So make sure this is nice and down. It's not going to bounce back up. So how I'm going to do this now is take my first section, pull it forward, and then I have a nice little guide. Okay. Again, remember I didn't take too much off. Straight through here. And as you come back, as you keep on pulling back, you can just pull back. You don't have to section it off. Pull back. As you can see now, look, this guide's starting to come into play. But remember, keeping your fingers straight, not round. Because you want the weight to come through here to add to the shape when it's styled. Again, look how straight my fingers are. And now this guide is fully in. So you've got a safety blanket either side. So you know you cannot go wrong with the length. The only way you could go wrong is if you went like that and went, oh yeah, there's a guide, take it off. No. You pull it all the way up to the top, you get your fingers parallel to each guide, and then you take it off. Same again there. Same again there. Same again there. This is the last cut then. And that will just sit lovely there, like so. And now I'm going to go on to the other side, exactly the same. So when it comes to the top, look, this is exactly what I've just done. Let me just check, you can see. So either side of the nose, here, here, straight back, all of the way back. And I've cut this part, as I showed in this diagram. It's been here. So I've cut all of that. And now what I've done, obviously I've already cut this part, right? It's from, oh, it's a bit different there, but recession to crown, recession to crown. And then that's all I'm doing here now. So because this has created a guide for me. This has created a guide, even though it's been round. Technically, when I've cut it, it's been round, right? It's been like that. But this time, this is my guide. So now, as all I'm doing is connecting this to this. with a straight line, cut in, nice and square. Oh, you can't see that one. Hang on. Sorry, guys. See, as you can see at the top left, so I'm connecting this line to this line, cutting it nice and square. Boom, all the way back. And then if there are any corners like this, you can do that in refining afterwards with your scissor over comb to take them off to make it a bit softer. I don't need to record this side part because it is exactly the same as the other one. So now we are going to add some texture and remove weight. But I'm going to section off the fringe from recession to recession because I don't want to remove any weight from the fringe. The reason being is because he wants more weight removed from here because to stop the bobbling. So when I remove the weight from here and leave the weight here, this is going to sit heavier on here and it's going to sit it down. Make sense? So how I'm going to add texture today is with my razor. And a bit more water. I'm going to wet it down again as because we're in Dubai, it's absolutely boiling and that's why his hair is drying so quick. And we're in, obviously the studio I'm using is a part of Live 27. If you don't follow them, guys, go and check them out. The shop's mega cool. This is where all the MMA fighters train and stuff, UFC fighters, sorry. And so I'm using their VIP room. I work here 2 days a week as well, and I get to use this as well then. So anyway, me rambling on. As I'm going to comb back, I'm going to keep the hair nice and tight, but my razor is going to be in front of my comb. Removing the weight and adding the texture. Removing a bit more as you get to the back. Removing a lot more as you get to the center of the back as well, because obviously it's naturally heavier through here. Let me just check that that's still in shot, and I'll get some angles for you from there. Yeah, it is. Now you can see me from that side. You can now see how my actual pull-in skills are. Right. So again, comb, tension, razor in front. Very, very lightly. There we are. That's that. When that's dried, you will be able to see how much weight and texture I've added. But it looks really, really natural. So it's a really good, really, really good technique. Obviously, you can use a feather razor or whatever you want to use. I just prefer using them as I personally feel I got more control over it. And bada bing, bada boom. That is the whole top finito. Obviously, I will do a bit of refining when it comes to, because I'm going to taper it, obviously. So I'm going to start with the nape and the sides first, rather than actually go up and through here to see what I need to refine. And when it comes to styling, I probably won't need to do a lot of refining really until I go to style, because Joey's hair naturally bubbles here, kind of grows out like that. So because he's growing a taper, I need to make this a lot more, a bit more in, so this grows it out as well, you know? So, yeah. He's got a very big square head. Unfortunately, for some. Right, so now moving on to the sides. As I explained earlier, we are going to be going at the bottom, starting at the bottom with the taper. Joey, do you want it high or low? High. So because he wants a high taper, And I'm just going to leave this in and then refine it later to see what I need to do with this as in terms of length. So we're going to go for a high taper. We're literally going to go top of the ear. So if I was doing a low taper, it would be top of the ear to the eyebrow. Because I'm doing a high one, I angle it differently. Because the taper, the means of having a taper is to keep the weight and the shape and the length behind the ear, right? So because high and low. So I'm going to keep, even if it's high, by me keep starting here, or if it's low, it doesn't matter. This is always going to be, the contrast is always going to be around here, right? And the length is always going to be around the ear. So if you take it higher behind the ear, that means that's when it starts becoming like a burst fade rather than anything else, rather than a taper. So let's get into it. Boom. Start with my 0, stabbing it in first, and then going up and cleaning it. Making sure it's nice and clean right away up to that line. You could even go a little bit higher. Like so. So I'm going to fully fade up with this. Normally I would do a 2 or whatever, but I'm literally going to fade up. And now I've done my 0, go to my detailers, then my foilers. The detailer line is going to be just below the 0. So as you can see, there's a gap. That's roughly where I go to with every, whether it's a fade, whether it's a taper, whatever it is. That's what I always do. Because you've got that little contrast and a little bit of area that you can work with. Making sure it's nice and clean. We're using your fingers, I'll just make sure there's no hair left. Just like that. Ask the client to angle his head, bring his jaw around. Obviously, I've got to be a bit more conscious of what's happening because obviously I'm recording. Bring it a bit closer for you guys. So if I go there, yeah. So remember with the taper as well, you want to keep it quite weighted around the shaper because that's just going to enhance the taper, right? So I'm going to use the corner of my blade and I'm going to go fully open and I can create another guideline. Angling it up. Just like that. Making sure it's nice and clean. Making another guideline. And you've still got the 0 line underneath there. So I'm going to go half closed. Another click closed. I'll repeat this all the way through until it's fully closed as so. Pulling down on the skin, never up. And I'm going to go back to the detailers, use the corner of the blade, and edging away at that little 0 line that's left. Like so. Now I will go in with my number 1, using the corner of the blade, open. Same principle as the process as the 0.5. So as I'm going this way, I'm going to use that side of the blade, and as I go this way, I'm going to use, so as I go from left to right, I'm going to use the right side of the blade. As I go from right to left, I'm going to use the left side of the blade. Half closed. And I'm flicking, so I'm not scooping, I'm literally flicking through the hair. So if that's the head, I'm literally flicking through. So I'm not pulling away, I'm flicking it through. So it does the blend for you. Half closed. Another click closed. Fully closed. And then I'm going to go back. Not back, I'm not going to go back. I'm going to go and use my 0.5 guard. I'll do it fully open. To get rid of this line there, that's connecting, that's blocking the contrast of being smooth from the 0.5 open blade to the 1. You got to use your own eyes as well. Like, you can't just go for exactly what I'm doing. You have to use your own eyes to defer where you need to work a bit more or work a bit less. Removing those dark patches or longer hairs or whatever. Remember, with a taper as well, you've got very, very little room for error. For the smaller strokes, there's more of them to make sure that you're not going too high. Or back to a Beyblade. Yeah, just to make sure you're not going too high or too low, really. Or you're not creating an extra line, so you have to be very, very steady, very, very careful. Right, that's that. Now I'm going to go with a 2 and flick, or sorry, my 1.5 guard, sorry, open. So it's like a short 2. I'm going to flick right away through and connect it to the top. So 1.5 guard, open, and behind the ear, on an angle, get rid of that bulk there, behind the ear, and then softly flick up and through. As you can see now, all that darkness is starting to go. It's starting to become a bit more like a blur. And then I'm going to edge right into the shape up here now. Half closed, exactly the same. Fully closed. Same process as before. Now I'm going to drop back to my number 1 just to clean up dark patches. So fully open. One click close. And be very, very particular with this one now. So it's 1 click closed. Oh, let me pump you up. Yeah, I'm going to pump him up and I'm going to make sure he's still in shot. So bear with me. You got to pump it up. Moving a bit more of the weight from behind the ear. Back to a bare blade, but I'm going to angle it this time. So that normally it's flat, but I'm going to angle it because that creates more of a distance between the cutting teeth and the head. And there you have it. I'll feather this out now with scissors. I'll do it right now. But that's the clipper work done. But only because it's only done because obviously Joey is growing out a taper. So I'm going to feather this through now here and through here to get rid of the dark patches. And I'm going to leave this and then I'm going to do the nape. I'm going to use my icons here because they're smaller and I got a smaller room to work with, a very little bit of room to work with. Sorry, I got distracted then in my own thoughts. It's simple, just scissor over comb, in here, tight, and angle it out with the comb. So you're literally going like this with the comb, not scooping, not going flush to the head here, and then angling out. Was that hitting you in the eye, Brian? A little bit. Sorry. That's my arm's not in the way there, is it? And scooping behind the ear, make sure you don't cut the ear, obviously. That has happened. Yeah, it's happened to me as well. As a client and as a barber. Yeah, it's not nice. So I think it's worse for a barber because I shit myself when I done it. And there we have it. That dark patch is gone. It's nice and soft. A bit more here. And now I'll hit it with the thinners as well, with the texturizing scissors, wherever they are. Hang on. So just to soften it up again. I know some people don't like to use thinning scissors or texturizing scissors. So these remove 20%. So these are Matakis, as always, the assassin boy. So if you, guys, also if you need scissors, head over to my Instagram and there's a 10% discount code on my bio. If it's not in my bio, you can just enter LH10 at the pay-in part of the Mataki website whenever you have a basket full. Okay, so please head over and use them. Honestly, I've used them for 7 years. I have never strayed away. I've never needed to, and then I become a brand ambassador. So, and if anybody who knows me, I don't work with shit names. Uh-huh. Why? Oh yeah, it's just the big swear words I can't say. No, just in case. So obviously, look, you can see how bouncy Joey's hair is. You know, but when it's styled, just from leaving the weight in the fringe, this is going to maintain and push this down. So when it's fully styled. So that's that done. That is that taper done. And then I'm going to move on to the I'm going to do the other side, but it's exactly the same as that side, so I don't need to record it. And then I will come back and record and do this part and then match the sides in. Right, so moving back or moving on to the nape. So as you can see, the obstacle bone's there. Exactly where the blend is. Okay? So we're gonna go, Joey wants it quite high. So what we're gonna do, he's got a natural tapered neck anyway. So we're gonna go to the highest point of that just to get rid of them, just to save us a bit of headache later on. With my zero again. With my zero again. And then I come up. Make sure it's nice and clean. And go from here. You good, bro? All good? All good, my brother. You good? Come on. So I'm going to go down to my detailers. Clean all of the mess up. So as you can see, I've gone completely straight up and through them, the naturally tapered part. Moving on to the foilers. I was just double checking then. So circular motions around the nape because it's a lot more dense. So circular motion around the nape, and as I get to the top, a lot softer. At the bottom, quite hard, pressing, and as I get to the top, lighter. That stops you putting a foiler line in, which is extremely hard to get rid of. Same again as the sides. We're going to go into my open blade. Create the 0.5 line. Half closed. And it's clean up. Right the way through. Right the way through, cleaning it all the way up. Another clip closed. Fully closed. And I'm using the JRL Onyx, guys. If you want these, go to my link in my bio. If you're in the UK, this is. Go to the link in my bio and click on my Chris and Sons link, and then you will have 10% off as well. Now moving on to the one guard. Open, and I'm just going to flick through. So this is removing weight, ready for the next number. And after I use this one now, so my number, so half closed, same principle as the other one. So as I'm coming through, another one click closed. As you can see now, it's starting to soften up. So really lighten up there. So after this number, I will not go above on the sides. So this is the highest I will go, right on the edges of the sides, because obviously you want the shape to be dark, right? To enhance the lines. So it's going back through, fully closed, making sure it's nice and clean. Obviously, the cleaner each guard is, the better. it's just easier for yourself moving forward. There's no like you're eliminating the problems before they become one. Point five guard, open, same princess, same process. Uh, Half open. So when it comes to the finer details, I'll work one side, and then one more click closed, fully closed. Now I'll move on to this side. If you notice, I'm not doing the same as I would with the skin fade. I'm not flicking up and through, or what like I was here. I was not flicking up and through. I'm literally like kind of scooping because it's a lot smaller area to work with, and the hair is a lot more dense at the back as well. Fully closed. As you can see now, I'm literally in, scooping like an ice cream. And then just go back and refine it. Use your blade. Use it open, use it closed, whatever. However, whatever needs to be taken away. I just need my fade brush. Whatever needs to be taken away, whatever dark patches, whatever guard you need to use it. So that's the basics, and then you come to refining, and this is where you make sure everything looks super crisp. On the Beyblade. And now I'm just going to feather that with my scissors. I like a so. So like there's a line here, right? You can see. I come up and through. Again, so I'm tight here, and as I get to here, I know I need to pull away from the head. So the same as I explained on the side, same process. And repeat that all the way around. And then as I'm here anyway, I'll soften that into the blend. I'm going to use my texturizing scissors again. Same process as I would use the scissor over comb, but just with texturizing scissors. And through here as well, just to soften that up. So as I explained earlier, I haven't gone any wider with the taper or higher here. I'm just softening everything up, ready for the styling. Now on to the shape up. I'll zoom you in for this bit. So now I've zoomed you in a bit so you can get the finer detail. So how I would shape, well, how I'm going to shape Joey's up is I'm going to pull back. Anything that's left there just comes off. Obviously, I don't go into the hairline at all. I just take off the baby hairs. As you can see, there's like spots as in like where there's no hair. That means that's not a part of his hairline. That's where his baby hair was. Put it back. That's going to put his head down a little bit. And then you've got the corner here. There's edging. Just like so. Now I just come straight down here. There's a little bit more I need to take off on the edge here. So I'm using the back of my blade because I don't want to be, if I come like that, I'm making myself blind. So if I go like that, that means I can't see the line that I'm making. So obviously come in. And now you can see where the C cup comes to. So I'm going to go to the strongest point of the hairline. Take a bit more weight off that, it's a bit too heavy. That's the strongest part of the hairline, and then it's going to come up and around. Just like so. Knock out this little line here. Obviously, there's some things you need to refine on the spot as and when, because like when you, like I just did, I enhanced the shape up. I didn't use enhancements, I just done the shape up. Then that creates another line here to the eye, but it wasn't there before. And I'm going to go up and around. And just edging in very, very lightly. Very, very lightly. just like that. Forward. And go back and refine whatever you need to refine on that part of his hair. I'm just going to use scissor over comb to refine these longer bits of hair through here, the darker patches. So obviously, like I said, on the other side, when you shape up, obviously there's other bits that are missed or whatever, or just enhances because you've removed hair. So now I'm going to move on to the styling. Right, so now then, moving on to styling. Obviously it's wet, and add a bit of sea salt spray to enhance the volume, but he doesn't really like volume. So, but just to give it that bit of grit and that pull, and I'm going to add, not to keep it too dry of a look, and add a bit of H14 raw matte clay. Not too much. Obviously, you can add more in because it's wet and you're drying it into the hair. But this, what this does, drying it into wet hair, is it gives it structure. So when it's styled, it shouldn't really move. And it gives you a lot more pull and manipulation as well when you're styling the hair. Get it right in there. Don't be scared. He is male, it won't hurt him. Well, it won't hurt him, anyway. Some males it might. Wash your hands before you use a hairdryer, because there's nothing worse than picking up a hairdryer and it's got product on the handle. Anyway, right, so that's my little rant over about product. Right, so full heat, second speed. And now I'm going to create the flow this way. So how I'm going to style this here, I'm going to pull it back and pull it across. So I'm going to be coming straight and then around his head. And then at the end, I'm going to be flicking down. And then I'll be pulling the fringe back because he likes it low. So if I wanted volume, I'd be pulling it up and forward. But because he wants it low, I'm going to pull it like this and back. And just going to repeat that all the way through. Okay? With the A direction as well, what you can do, don't angle it too much into the head. One, you might burn them, but two, it's going to create a bounce. So if you're angling the A too much into the scalp, it's going to bounce back and it's going to create volume. Whereas if you want it tight, you just glide it across like this. So I'm not angling it into the head, I'm angling it with the hair. As you can see now, I'm coming around. Look how soft that is. Now I've done that side part, onto the fringe. So this, when you're twisting and pulling, that's what's going to give you the pull and the shape. So then after you've done the first part, you can just drag it through because that's created the ridge for the shape. And as you come into the center part, obviously we've come around here. Center part, we're just going straight back, pulling it straight back like this. Obviously pulling it even further more when it comes to the back to get rid of that bulge there. Even though I've taken loads of weight out of it, it will still bounce. And then as you come to the back, show you now. As you come to the back, you're just pulling it straight through. And then same on the other side. I don't like to use my right hand to dry, so I'm literally just going to, so I angle his head, and I use my left hand and my right as the dryer. And then this side here, bring it up and over and down. And then with the flow, if your cut is right, it should just sit. I like your cut, G. So there you have it. There's no extravagant styling here. That's just blow dried with a bit of product through it in wet hair. Obviously, if you wanted to go more creative, you could easily just grab your styling brush and then bring that right away through. But if you want to go extra creative and create all of the lines and everything, I'm not going to do that. Joey's going to play golf after this. Not to the desert. So we're going to the desert today, so it's absolutely, yeah. So you literally pull that through, like that. So that's the centre part. And you bring this up and over, and bring the other side up and over as well. And there you have it. That's Joey's new taper. I like that a lot. Boom. Happy days!
Oh, happy days.